I want to also ask my longtime friend and classmate Drew Sawyer to come on up on behalf of Moonshine Post just to say a few words. He's our official sponsor this evening, and he's an incredible friend of the organization. So Drew, just to say a little something.
Sure. I was told to fit all this within one tweet. I'm going to try. No, it's I am a proud contemporary of yours. This is great. I'm here with Moonshine Post. Not associated with the film is loosely through sponsorship. Proud sponsor. Came up through independent roots. I still make movies with everyone that I started the business with 7 years ago. Today we made movies. I've collaborated with these guys for over 10 years. So it's kind of funny from the couch of our friends, a bunch of dirty, smelly hippies, to being the largest independently owned and Georgia-owned post house servicing the majors. It landed in our backyard, and we were ready. So I'm incredibly proud, and I haven't seen it yet, because I'm not allowed to. But I support the independent, and I support the DIY, because we still make our own.
It's funny looking back because the gag was the cardboard box. It was always a cardboard box. It was always a box fort. And then the whole idea was we took what was in the real world, and then when you went in the maze, what happened to it when the maze got its hands on it. So everything that was in the real world got exaggerated, blown out, and had to be sort of that same aesthetic. We did that with the blood and the gore, and everything came from like a artistic paper, handmade vibe. But I don't know that we knew how awesome the cardboard aspect was going to be in the writing. We got all of the right people, obviously, to get it done on the art department side, but they actually brought in, when the art director got his hands on it, he said, well, I know a guy from the Cardboard Institute of Technology. Cardboard Institute of Technology, I don't fucking know that. And the word just started spreading among people who actually work in fine art in cardboard as a medium. But they also didn't know it was a thing. And they just started flocking to the project for obvious reasons. They were just inspired and excited, and then it was a matter of just setting them free.
So does that mean that sort of some of the key pieces were done by different cardboard artists?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Every day on set, anywhere you look, there was somebody just with a box cutter and a glue gun just going to town. And there were just all these things just being generated. Right, many artists with many box cutters and many glue sticks.
I've got other questions, but I do want to check in, see if we've got other comments or questions immediately. If not, I'm going to keep stealing the stage here. So I've got to imagine the no smoking policy had to be really strict on this movie.
Smoking what?
Yeah.
There was actually, I'm surprised how many people still smoke cigarettes. The hell, guys? We're supposed to be the generation that stops. Fucking problem. But yeah, it was a very confined, tight space. But there was a smoking section out back.
So I'm really curious for the actors. A lot of this, you have so many great comedians in this film. There's kind of riding the line of comedy and thriller. How much of the script was, of what we saw, was what you received versus how much of that changed and transformed? Like, tell us a little bit about all that.
Yeah, it was, I mean, it was such a big mix of people that came from the stand-up world, the improv world, the TV world, the theater world, you know, and that was really cool because it wasn't one thing, you know, it wasn't just like an improv crowd doing a thing. I think most of it was the script. Totally. There were, you know, very little things that were added here and there. I think usually at the end of every scene we kind of added things and they were like, yeah, that's cute. But for the most part it was all there on the page. Yeah.
Which is interesting because for anybody who knows particularly some of the comedians, a lot of it was really kind of like words right out of their mouth, like you would see in their stand-up. Like, were these written with people in mind, or it was like, we've got to get...
No, the original drafts of the script, all the characters were named after all of our friends. It was just everyone we knew, and what would happen if this happened to everyone that we knew. Dave was Steve, who was the co-writer, Steven Sears. The film director, Harry, was Bill. because I direct films. And we spun out from there. That's how we found the voices, was how would this person respond. So we got a specificity for each character in the voices, but then it was, I mean, I knew what I had in terms of the level of caliber of talent, so there was definitely, I wanted everyone to feel free. Yeah. So it did have a loose, collaborative environment, and there are some of my favorite, very little moments that don't seem like improv, that maybe not even seem that important, that have become my favorite moments, were things that weren't in the script. And the only example that comes to mind is Nick's handing out the stuff when he was trying to encourage everyone for the first time to finish the maze. And he's like, I've got tape, I've got so much cardboard. It wasn't quite worded like that, but when we heard that, we're like, well, whatever we have to do to get that in, that just felt significant. You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
You guys talked about the visual effects, like the what decide this certain way,
There are a couple things that work. It was a movie about an artist who made things with his hands, so it just felt like if we didn't do as much as possible to have it all be actual practical effects, which I consider stop motion animation a practical effect, even though the actor has to, you know, work with something that isn't there. Ultimately, it is a practical effect. For a movie about an artist who makes things with his hands, if you don't then make everything with your hands, then you're basically telling the audience, I think you're dumb, and you're not going to notice that I don't care that. You know, it felt like a lie to the audience that we didn't do as much practically as possible. And also, the people that we got on board a lot of them came from that Stupid Buddy world, Shadow Machine. They just came from that stop motion world, so we knew we had people who could do it. So it wasn't just a matter of, it would be fun if, it was like, let him do his thing. And they were pitching ideas left and right, and you know, I'm older than I look, so I'm into Harryhausen, I'm into all that stuff. And when it got time to get to make something, it's like, I want to make the stuff that I watched. I want to make something that made me feel like I felt.
Yeah, absolutely. Checking back. So, line it over here. Yeah, right over here.
Where did you guys shoot it? It clearly wasn't the apartment. And, like...
Oh, you noticed?
Yeah.
that wasn't a real apartment?
Big set, or did you build literally like small portions of cardboard sets?
We probably never had any more than 2 sets, maybe 2.5 up at any one time. The apartment set that we built took up at least 2/3 of our shooting space. We had a soundstage in Glendale. Yeah, we had a stage in Glendale. We had a space.
Shitbox in Glendale.
We had a space in Glendale. And it had 2/3 of the space was that apartment. So that, you know, we shot the first 7-8 days just doing the beginning and the end of the film that take place in the apartment, and then as the apartment gets cardboardized. And then once we were able to take the apartment down and start building smaller sets, we never had more than 2.5 sets up at any given time. And none of them lasted more than a day or two. And my favorite set of all, that sort of, we called it the Kubrick corridor, the octagonal. I'm looking at you, I don't even know if you asked the question. Hexagonal, the thing, it was awesome, you remember. That existed for maybe 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. It was constructed in time for us to shoot the scene and destroyed within the hour. Nothing was really standing. We didn't have a lot of time to pre-light, we didn't have a lot of time to rehearse in the space. I'm still looking at that guy as if he asked the question. I don't even know who asked the question. I don't even remember what the question was, actually, to be honest. Good. Molly, save me.
So this being your first feature film,
Yes.
and you wrote like a very strange film, were you ever scared about coming out of the box with something that was like so quirky and so like the fear of like being embraced by the masses in the process, or was there like a freedom that was involved with people that were involved?
No, I wasn't scared of making a weird movie. I knew it was a weird movie. I wanted to make the movie that I wanted to make, and I knew I couldn't direct a film, especially my first film, unless I believed in it passionately and knew it inside and out. Otherwise it'd be a fool's quest. And I was like, I can tell this story. I may not be a director, I may not have a future as a director, but I can tell this story. So there wasn't fear in that regard. There's plenty of other fears. But no, we were psyched to, we knew we were onto something, and it was okay if other people didn't get it. All my favorite, I would never tell this to an agent or a man, but all my favorite movies bombed. All of them. So I don't know where to go with that. I don't expect us to bomb, but you make a movie that you want people to enjoy it. It wasn't a selfish endeavor, but it definitely wasn't necessarily a movie for everyone. But I think the people to whom it will speak very loudly, and that means more to me than reaching the masses.
One question that I got a lot when we first set off to do this movie is
Who's Bill Watterson? How the fuck is he directing a fight? I never fucking heard of him.
I still get that. Was why are you? I mean, this was really kind of my first one at the helm, starting off the project anyway, and I got the question a lot. Why aren't you just making a, you know, $30,000 mumblecore, 3 adults in an apartment relationship drama? Well, there's a little bit of that, but my answer was because
really
no matter how well this goes, no matter how briskly it goes, it's still a year, 2-year, 3-year project, whereas this turned out to be a 6-year project. And I don't want to be bored to death 6 months into it. I don't want to hate the script and hate the project and hate watching the scenes over and over and over. And when he pitched this to me 6 years ago, I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of this, and I still haven't, so.
And I think I could add to it, like when you, okay, so you just saw this movie, imagine reading it for the first time, you know? And like you read a project like this, and you're like, okay, I like this, but like, is this, like, let me take a look.
Who's Bill Waters?
Yeah, and I think Meera had the same thing, like, you're like, is this good? Like, is this what, like, are you seeing what I'm seeing in this? And I think you kind of like build a consensus, like, all right, this is weird, but, and I remember what I thought was, okay, I read it, I'm like, this is good, this movie needs to be made, then it's finally like, screw it, like, let's jump on board, you know, and then, you know, people need to see this thing, yeah.
Back here. There were set pieces that required foresight, like even in a very early draft, the origami room and the mouth that burps origami, and the piano room that is the giant keys that they could step through. That was in a very early draft. It was a very visual script, even before Steve and I really started going line for line and figuring out what is this about, what are the, you know, focusing on character and making sure everything's consistent. It was visual out of the gate, so you definitely start, your mind goes to exciting places, which is why we got good people, because they saw it, they read it and said, and their minds went to the same places. I don't think until I saw John Sumner's first production design Bible, which is a work of art, frankly, that's when it started to get real. Do you remember that meeting? We were at Trish's apartment, and he was just going through PDFs. I was like, oh boy, it's a movie now. And this was way before we had a single actor attached, before we had most of the financing. Everyone was working on a promise that we would secure it, and it started from such a visual place. It's baked into the script, for sure, all credit to Steve, but also from the production designers from day one. They went very visual, and it just got everyone super excited, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. Right over here.
Favorite props that walked off set?
I know somebody who likes to, maybe.
The puppets are all intact, thankfully. No puppets were killed in the making of this film, I promise.
One Minotaur.
Minotaur was hard.
Which one? Oh, right, yeah, we destroyed the fuck out of that. But when I say it was destroyed, that sequence at the end where the whole maze is imploding and it looks like we spent $1 million, it just meant that at the end of every day, we just destroyed everything that we built on camera, knowing that we would have that big epic scene at the end, and it would seem like we had an unlimited budget. But yeah, we've held on to as much as we could. It's all very fragile, frankly. So some of the things just got destroyed. You know, we put them in storage, and then we went to get them. We're like, yeah, I think that's just garbage now, which is a shame. But the key set pieces that you would imagine, the Minotaur head, the Dave's hand, the puppets from that puppet scene, we've definitely been very precious about that, because they're beautiful pieces of art, frankly, and we want to have them for the rest of our lives.
We're gonna run over here.
Very kind.
Oh, yeah. So, was there any an iteration of the script where you explained more about the mythology of...
Never! But it was thought about a lot, frankly. And it's a question that's come up, and it's certainly a criticism that's come up, and it's very fair. To me, this is just a matter of taste. And I looked at movies like Night at the Museum or something like that, where there's this magical fantasy thing that's going on, and you're like, why? Oh, it's this Egyptian amulet. And you're like, oh. Well, then, so no one in this movie is special, and it doesn't really matter, and it could have happened to anybody, and it's just this fucking amulet. Whereas with this, it was important to me that this was something that only Dave could do. I mean, one of my favorite jokes is that, like, I don't know what's driving it, my imagination? She's like, oh, please. It's one of my favorite gags, but if it's not from Dave, if Dave isn't special, if Dave isn't unique in his ability to make this world that, you know, catches everybody by surprise and off guard, then he's just some dude. And it was important to me that it be something that have to be so special and powerful that it would have to come from an individual as opposed to something outside the individual. Like, well, it was supposed to be a cardboard box, but it turns out our apartment is a gateway to the Xbox dimension or whatever it was, you know. And people come up to me and try to talk science, and I'm like, okay, have a drink, dude. It's just supposed to be fucking fun. But it's a very fair question, and it's certainly a fair criticism as well. But it was a conscious choice to have it be something that we didn't talk about, we didn't explain, we didn't over-explain, and that it just sort of exists because of Dave's individuality and greatness, if you will.
Before we take the next question, I want to just do a 20-second pitch. There are a handful of clipboards going around. If you have any interest in being notified, maybe 5-6 months from now when this hits theaters, just throw your city and your email down.
Not maybe, fucko. We're distributing the fuck out of this!
Not maybe going to be distributed, maybe in 5 or 6 months. Roughly that time frame. Just throw your city and your email down.
I just wanted to say fucko on a microphone.
We'll notify you. Also, we have Gordon's t-shirt. I'll be out in the lobby selling these, as well as DVDs and Blu-rays to be shipped to you in the future. They're $15 for a DVD, $18 for a Blu-ray, $16 for this. If you get any 2 items, it's $5 off. Any 3 items, it's $8 off. I take credit cards. That's the end of the pitch. Thanks.
Well done, well done. I think we have time for like maybe 2 more questions. So we're gonna do you right there. And then let's show some.
What's up with the back? Let's put the back
for one. And then we'll have you.
What's your question?
There he goes. I'm gonna run outside of the theater.
Over there,
Proud, sir. She has the question.
It's not even you!
No! I know! I suck!
What was your budget, and how did you finance it?
She's got the mic! I didn't run all the way over here for
Hey
that.
guys, so my question is also finance-based. When you were looking
Right over there for that.
When you were looking for money, how did you pitch this film?
With the story primarily, we got a handful of people we knew to sign some sort of preliminary documents saying that they would be involved in the film, both on the cast and crew side. But mostly it was just calling 800 people I knew and asking them if they would
Start holding the microphone like John does.
put some faith behind.
It's much cooler.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Put some faith behind
Shut
it,
up,
and it took a couple of years to get that done. And I heard somebody else yell out a question about the budget. I'm sorry, we don't answer that question.
I'll tell you this much. You tell me what you think the budget is, and judging by my laughter, you can figure it out retroactively.
All right.
Just about.
We had a question right over here. Yes.
So you talked a lot about making the movie that you want to make. Were there still any creative limitations that you ran into, stuff you wanted to tell us?
Every minute, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. There was stuff in the script we couldn't do. There was stuff in the script that we built, and then on the day it was like, oh, that doesn't work. Or, oh, that looks lame. Or, actually, this doesn't make sense given what we did previously. And then in the edit room, there were certainly story beats that I thought were really important that, I was going to say, frankly, between you and me, but I'm holding a microphone. Holding a microphone like John Charles Meyer, I might add. There were moments in the edit that I knew were important to me in the script and important to me on set, and I realized I didn't capture. Just a misstep on my part as a first-time director. And I was like, well, now we have to rethink this, or it has to be something else, or it has to. We can gloss over it, move past it, or present it in a different way, or a more subtle way, or not at all. And I love seeing it in a beautiful theater like this, with a fantastic crowd, by the way. You guys were very, very vocal, very supportive. Thank you for that. But the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, we wanted to do this. Oh, that was supposed to, the thing was supposed to bend, but it didn't. You know, but I'm very proud of what we did. And we were even more ambitious than what's on the screen, which is obscene. But I'm very happy with what we got.
I'm curious, I'm going to steal the last couple of questions here, and I want to hear from all of y'all. You've screened the film a few times. Have you noticed a difference in crowds, a difference here? We have, I'm sure you're aware, maybe you're not, Atlanta has an incredibly vibrant puppetry community. We've got a number of our master puppeteers in the audience. So I'm curious, though, if you've noticed any differences in terms of response to things that maybe you haven't heard or anything like that. I'd love to hear from each of y'all.
Yeah, I mean, I think the funny thing is like, it's almost like playing in a band, like, you know, sort of audiences are different depending on the night, whatever, and I think cities are like that with film festivals, and I don't know if the audience award goes the other way, but I'm kind of a fan of this crowd, personally. Like, it's like you get laughs where you don't expect it, you get laughs with it you thought you'd get and you don't get, you know, that kind of stuff happens.
I think he hit the nail on the head with the bands playing different cities. Every crowd is totally different. That said, we've had one private invite-only audience of sort of industry people, and it was the lamest crowd. Like, nobody cares. Like, I'm too cool for this. And all the festivals have just been, you know, a lot of fun. So thank you very much for having us. It's been a blast.
No, I feel the same way. I was saying that I thought it was cool to see, to hear you guys like warm up to it too, because I don't know, it's a really cool experience sitting with an audience, sitting with a different audience and hearing their reactions, because I thought, yeah, at the beginning it was a little bit more like a listening interview. I don't know, I'm projecting, but and then it was like, oh yeah, and then they start, you know, I don't really have anything.
This is only the second time you've seen it.
Third.
Right? Well, but second festival, right?
Second festival.
Yeah.
You guys win. You guys win, hands down. All right, man.
So then sort of last question, I mean, you talked about kind of some of this film has so many different kinds of modes and
I have a
moments.
question.
Okay.
Where's the after party?
There's on Ponce.
Where's that?
Where's on
Where
Ponce?
is that?
That way.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
But again, one last just for each of y'all. There's so many great kind of nuggets and moments. Do you have a favorite kind of either prop piece, moment, beat, anything that you're like, I love that. So I'd like to hear kind of each of y'all, what's your favorite?
Every time I watch it and there's a gag, I lean over and go, that's my favorite gag. And then like 5 minutes, that's my favorite gag. But I think if I were to, you know, honestly look myself in the mirror, I think my absolute favorite gag, which got a laugh tonight, is Meera saying, is this my good yarn? That it's so weird,
Brutal.
it's so, but it also brings you back to the apartment at a time when you're as far from the apartment as you've ever been. I love it. I love the performance, the delivery. I think that's my favorite moment.
So mine, okay, I love this movie in like a not conceited way.
Great.
No.
So talented.
So I saw it for the first time at Slam Dance, and it's just like I'm so in awe of all of these guys and our art director and our other actors, and it's that moment where I have the sword and you know, I'm stabbing these different walls, and there's one wall where like this like red juice comes out, and it just like you know, exemplifies why I love this group of people so much. Because I want to spend the rest of my life surrounded by people that are like, oh, and in this one, let's just make fucking juice come in. Like some cranberry juice. Oh, give me some. It's like, you know, I love it, and I love these guys.
I have two, at least one of which came out in the editing room. I'm not sure if either of them was scripted, but maybe one was. One is Leonard being gored for the third time. I just love going back to him again and again and again. And the other is the cut back to the apartment when everything is crashing down and the little tiny maze just... Those are my favorites.
I gotta say, when we first meet Dave for the first time, which really comes to life with the sound design too, right? He shows up, like, da, 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 I'm gonna save you guys, and then bam, like it's that wall, right? That's, yeah.
Awesome. Well, those are all, I love those. Those are great. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for making this film. Thank you for letting us share it. And we had such a great response. We had to turn people away. We added a surprise encore screening taking place tonight at 10 o'clock. So be sure to show off to everyone who didn't get to make it. Come see it now. And let's go party. Thank you so much.